This week finally gave me receipts. I crossed my first $1,000 in revenue from my new project, Teacher Retirement Piece. I also lost another 2 inches and roughly another pound of body fat. And I had a conversation with my dad that reminded me why this entire season matters. None of it has happened overnight. But this week, I finally started seeing proof that the small things I've been repeating are beginning to compound. And guys, that is what this recap is really about, what consistency looks like before it becomes obvious. Hey guys, welcome back to another Heart, Health, and Hustle recap where I'm documenting the pursuit of a life worth living. This week honestly felt heavy, not necessarily in a bad way, just full. I've been juggling my fitness challenge for washboard abs, building my new business, Teacher Retirement Piece, creating content across YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, both for that brand and also my personal brand, all while also preparing for a new adventure, returning to the flight attendant industry with Delta Airlines. My training starts in January 2027, which is less than 6 months away, and also aiming to make time for the people that I love. So there's definitely moments where I've caught myself thinking, have I taken on too much? Am I crazy? Because let's be honest, it's a lot. But I'm learning that overwhelm is not always solved by doing less. Sometimes it's solved by becoming more intentional about what actually matters and being structured. And when I look back at this week, I realized something. Almost every win came from something that I had already been doing consistently for weeks. So let's start with the first pillar, heart. This week, I got to do something really special. I sat down with my dad and interviewed him about his published memoirs. And what started as a conversation about his life became something much bigger. It became a conversation about legacy, about preserving stories that can teach us, about remembering where we come from. And honestly, the older I get, the more I understand how precious these conversations are. Our parents are not always going to be around. The stories that they carry are not always going to be available to us. So I'm really grateful that my dad and I took the time to sit down and capture some of the insight. That was one of the most meaningful parts of this past week for me. But there's another story that I've been waiting to share for a long time as well. I met with the holistic doctor who helped me through my healing journey earlier this year, and we're planning to film an interview together in the coming weeks where I'm finally going to share the full story of overcoming my pre-cancer diagnosis. That conversation is going to be very personal and vulnerable for me, so definitely give me some grace because it takes courage to share that level of detail. So I don't want to rush this conversation, but I do want to tell the story carefully and honestly, and in a way that can hopefully help someone else feel less alone with a clear picture of what's available to them. Now let's get into the health pillar. So, health-wise, I'm finally starting to feel like myself again. I had talked about last week that I had what I think was food poisoning, and I finally, after 7 days of frequent trips to the restroom, I decided that, hey, it's time to go see my primary doctor. So I followed up with my doctor after about the 7 days of unexpected food poisoning, and ironically, by the time that I go to the appointment, I was mostly recovered. But of course, I wanted to be responsible and proactive about the situation because you never know. And obviously with the crazy parasite situation circulating the news, I thought I'd better ask if I should be concerned about that. Thankfully, my doctor reassured me that if that were the case, I would literally be walking around in a diaper. So definitely couldn't be that. That was reassuring. Now, let's talk about the fitness piece. My fitness side of things has actually been going very well, all things considered. This past week, I was able to make it to the gym 5 times, which is huge considering that I was just recovering from food poisoning the week prior. I even got to hang out at the We Believe Wellness Center in Carefree, Arizona 3 times this past week. So I had a session in the hyperbaric chamber. That was interesting. It was literally like being in a spaceship. It was a little bit scary. And, if you're claustrophobic, maybe it's not for you, but I definitely recommend testing it out because the evidence is just crazy. In addition to that, I was also able to hang out on the massage table. That was amazing. Had some compression therapy and got to experiment with PMF therapy as well. And of course, can't forget the red light as well as the infrared sauna. I've been doing red light and infrared about 3 days a week. I do the red light a little bit more because there is an option on the panels where you can do infrared and red light at the same time. So if I'm in a hurry, I usually choose that. Shout out to the team at Fit6. That also is the satellite location for the We Believe Wellness Center. So I'm able to pair that with my workout each day. Now, obviously at the start of the week, I'm in the 60-day fitness challenge for washboard abs, and I'm making some progress. So at the beginning of the week, we do a Staiku body scan, which is a digital image of your entire body, and you can measure any fat loss, muscle gain, and also even your posture and different things like that. So let me show you what that looks like. Here's my scan from this past week. And what's crazy is because of the food poisoning, it was almost like I unintentionally did my own cleanse. So I actually lost about 2 inches and roughly another pound of body fat. And so I'm not going to pretend that, hey, every part of that came from perfect habits. Obviously, some of the change was because I was sick. It was really challenging to eat and hit my protein goals those days. And so I'm going to just treat this as information. Obviously, it's not exactly a victory lap because I wouldn't want to condone food poisoning per se, but it's all about seeing the silver lining. And I will gladly take the encouragement, seeing the needle move towards my goal of washboard abs. And so the journey continues, one step at a time. Now, ending this week of week 4, I'm noticing that I am feeling a bit more hunger and cravings, and that possibly could be because the last week I was not able to eat, even though I was already in a calorie deficit. Being on the Retta has also helped me a lot in navigating the cravings, and so not going to talk a lot about that here on this channel, but if you're curious, if you're experimenting with different modalities like that, let me know in the comments. It's not going to be for everybody, and I'm not saying that you should try it, but if you do decide to, make sure that you're working with an expert and a professional in your journey. Okay, now let's chat about the hustle pillar. So business has honestly been the most exciting part of this week for me. My new brand, Teacher Retirement Piece, is finally starting to gain some serious momentum. Since I began, I have committed to posting at least one piece of content every single day. That's 7 days a week across YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and my new Facebook page. I'm also looking at launching a Spanish version. So, hey, if you are bilingual or know someone who is, and they may be interested in helping me lead that, I will be looking for some help down the line. But eventually, I'll probably start with just once a week to see if I can gain some traction because I do want to specialize in the English-speaking market, at least myself personally. Now, feel free to reach out, though, if you would like to learn about potentially partnering and collaborating on that together. I'm also making calls. We're going old school and new school at the same time. So Mondays through Saturdays, I've been making about 25 calls. That's my bare minimum non-negotiable. 25 new calls to my database. And these are people who've raised their hand in the past, sometimes recently or in the past few years, wanting more information on a complimentary pension review. And sometimes they slip through the cracks. Unfortunately, there's a lot of demand and there aren't always enough representatives nationally to support that. And so that's why I'm excited that I've been able to step into this new role and help with some of those needs. And what I'm excited to report as an entrepreneur, I've been an entrepreneur pretty much since 2019. I've done everything from cold calling to door knocking to even calling my warm market. This has been the most, easy. I don't want to quite call it easy, but yes, it is a grind still, but it's not a grind like I'm used to. And so I feel like I'm super productive, right? Because I'm clear, I'm leveraging social media. At the same time, more old school approaches like actually making calls myself. Luckily, they're not cold calls. And so a little bit of new school and old school together, I'm seeing how this has been just injecting activity and productivity in my business. And for anyone who is maybe just focused on old school approaches, good for you, right? It definitely is sweat equity. However, I started realizing that the numbers, you can't beat 10,000 views on a video in less than 2 weeks. There's no way that I could make calls to that level and have that much exposure. So that's why I'm a big believer in one piece of content a day, and you can cross promote that across all your channels. You're already making the content. Why not post it on all the different platforms? And it's free. And at the same time, double up on some of the old school approaches. And so again, 25 calls a day, Monday through Saturday, and then one piece of content 7 days a week. And so what's helped me is batch creation. And yeah, it's a lot of work. Occasionally I have to block off a few hours and prepare for the content. I've been able to use a lot of AI to help me organize things, thankfully, and then batch film those pieces, and then of course edit them, and I'm able to post them every single day. So I have an alarm that helps remind me. Okay, so that's just how I've been able to make it happen, because I'm a one-woman show right now. Eventually I do see myself needing to hire some help with social media. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But anyway, I'm starting to see the payoff for that consistent work, both in calls and the social media. We've been able to bring on 3 paid clients so far from organic posting on social media, and that's no ads. I officially crossed my $1,000 in revenue in this project, and I'm just 46 days in. And so after launching, I do feel good about that, since as hard as I'm working, it is nowhere as much of a grind as past endeavors, like I've said, from cold calling and door knocking, or even calling friends and family, because sometimes that's a grind. Now, obviously, we're just getting started, so my aim is to eventually get to $20,000 a month in revenue across all my streams of income. But hey, this $1,000 to start is proof of concept and evidence that the work is starting to move. Now, here's a writer downer for you. Consistency creates evidence before it creates obvious success. I've also been booking appointments in Spanish again, which has been really fun and a reminder how I need to be practicing regularly. So both Felipe and I have started speaking more Spanish at home. And we're also thinking that when we do have kids, we want to be able to speak Spanish to them so that they can grow up to be multilingual. Now, another major hustle highlight was hosting my second flight attendant Q&A for aspiring flight crew. The turnout surprised me once again. It wasn't as large as the first one because I didn't promote it as much, but still a few hundred people tuned in. And the best part was not just the number of people who attended, it was the personal messages that I got afterward. People thanking me from the bottom of their hearts and saying that they finally felt confident enough to apply. That just warms my heart. People telling me that they finally believed their dream could be possible for them too. And that honestly means more to me than just views ever could. And it's not about the views. It's about going out there, being courageous, and being an example. I even had people ask me if I'd be willing to coach them. Well, that's an interesting idea. Of course, I'm tempted at the idea, having coached people in business before, but truth be told, I do not have the bandwidth for that. However, it's something that I may want to revisit in the future, but hey, first things first, I need to focus on myself, getting through my own training, and who knows, go from there potentially next year in the future. We'll see. And that's why this has been so awesome, getting to share my journey publicly, in spite of the pushback, even people that I respect in my personal life reaching out to me and doubting me. Now, my goal is not to just show the finished result, which is commonly the case. We always see, hey, that person is having massive success. Look at them, their business, But very rarely do we get to see people take you through the messy middle before it was anything to write home about. So my goal is to show you what it looks like while you're still building, in spite of the fear, in spite of those naysayers, and in spite of past failures. And if you are also building something right now, whether it's a business, a fitness goal, a career change, or simply a healthier life, I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments below. Every day I'm showing up across YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, but each platform has been responding differently to the same pieces of content. Actually, TikTok has really been the best place for me, to be honest, over Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Now, I am starting to see some traction build. Previously, I was barely at 2,000 views on my new Instagram profile. Now I'm at over 12,000 views, which is pretty cool. And that's just a few weeks later. So it goes to show that it is very important to be consistent every day, even if it's just a teeny tiny post. And it reminds me that our job as creators is not to decide who needs to hear our message. Our job is to keep showing up and giving people the opportunity to find us, because you never know which post, video, or conversation will reach someone at exactly the right time. And so it is our duty to make sure that we are putting our message out there, because the only reason why you might be in a slump like I was is because the right people don't know you exist. Since it's now August, right, as the time of this recording, it is Sunday, August 2nd. I want to start doing something new. Once a month, I'm going to start oversharing transparent updates on my revenue streams since I have started over in business. Not because I believe that income defines success, because it doesn't, but it's obviously a measurable, tangible way to know that there is progress. I want people to see what building multiple businesses actually looks like in real life when you start over in your mid-30s like myself, and also that it's not over till it's over. There's no shame in starting over. In fact, I believe that it takes tremendous courage. It's invigorating to me to be in this stage and having to reinvent myself again. So my hope is that through this journey, you may be inspired to also get to reinvent yourself too, that there's something that you've been putting off to the side that, hey, maybe it's time to put that towards the front. Right now, roughly 80 to 90% of my focus is going toward my new brand, Teacher Retirement Piece. That's the main engine in the moment for me. My wellness business continues to generate recurring income each month, which I'm super grateful for. And I love getting to help people. That's been more of a passion project for me. And I'm currently at 83% of the way toward hitting a next major milestone in that arena. My goal is to definitely wrap that up by the end of the year, if not sooner. I've also been able to start collaborating with other local business owners in the fitness and wellness realm, which is really cool. And it's given me some exposure to help me meet that milestone as well for a win-win. Then there is the content creation and affiliate partnerships that I'm talking about. Since newly becoming an Amazon affiliate, literally in the last 30 days, I've earned $23 whole in commissions so far. I'm earning about $5 a month from Facebook just for Reels, which I was already going to create anyway. So obviously these are very modest amounts of commission, but hey, I'll take it. You got to start somewhere. Financially, this is still the smallest piece right now, but I believe it may become one of the biggest long-term opportunities that I'm building. Because content compounds and it can become evergreen. Just like relationships, just like investing in your health and showing up long enough, the results eventually are going to begin to stack. So in total for the month of July, I'm excited to report that I've generated $1,636.87 net across all my ventures. And obviously this does not include what my husband Felipe is doing on his own. I just want to focus on what I'm in control of, which is my own activities. On a fun note, let's talk about adventure. I know that's not really a pillar that I often talk about, but it is an underlying theme. Felipe and I have officially started planning our Japan trip for October, and I'm super excited and looking for recommendations. Even though I was born in Tokyo and I actually got to study abroad there in college, it's been years since I've been able to visit, so I feel pretty rusty. So if you have any suggestions or recommendations, please drop them in the comments. I'm definitely all ears with that. That's probably going to be our last big adventure together before I am shipped off to flight attendant training with Delta in January 2027. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I don't even know where I'll get to be based with Delta. My hope is eventually I'll get to bid for the Phoenix base. However, I'm open to wherever things lead me. I'm actually really excited. I miss, living out of my suitcase. 5 years ago, when I was flying for American Airlines, I was also selling real estate. It was very doable. However, in real estate, you've got to be able to show homes. And so I did find that extremely challenging. With my businesses today being 100% pretty much online, I'm excited to see how I can actually do those much better with flying. Fun little update for you. I finally learned how to play poker. Felipe has been really trying to teach me for a long time, but I was always like, it's not really for me. I almost cleaned him out. But then he made a comeback. The biggest lesson that I'm taking away this week is that consistency is not glamorous. Most days, it is honestly kind of boring. It's making another phone call, posting another piece of content, going to the gym, meal prepping, following up with past clients, learning, showing up when nobody is clapping yet. I've even had people close to me in life doubt my pursuits right now. But at the end of the day, you have to remind yourself that you get to live your life. And I do not want to let others dictate how to live my life. As someone still fresh in my faith, I've also believed another layer is giving it to God and having faith that He has a plan for you. When your loved ones doubt your success, it hurts, but let's channel that into fuel for our fire. Let it be the reason why you persevere and succeed against all odds. Remember to manage your expectations, because just like a seed needs time to germinate and eventually blossom into a harvest, so do your dreams. But remember, it's up to you to water and care for your dreams daily. My hope is that you too will one day look back and realize your life has taken shape into your dreams. It will never be a straight line, and so prepare yourself for the setbacks, the confusion and the fear, and obviously the failures. There will be moments where you wonder whether any of it is working, and I'm definitely there oftentimes, but the compound effect is real. And almost always it's happening below the surface. You may not see the results immediately, and that does not mean that nothing is happening. Sometimes the roots are growing before the fruit appears. So if you are in a season where it feels like you are doing all the work, but not seeing many results yet, let's keep going because I'm in it with you. We're in this together. So as we wrap up today's episode, I'd love to know, where in your life are you choosing consistency right now? Is it your health? Is it your business, your relationships, your faith, or simply becoming the person that you keep saying you're going to become? If you're willing to share, let me know in the comments, and it helps remind all of us that we're not in this alone. Until next week, I'll see you as we continue building our heart, health, and our hustle, because at the end of the day, that is how we create a life worth living. See you next week.